So the editor-in-chief of Campus Reform is Cabot Phillips. You've probably seen him do his man on the street stuff, but he's bringing to light something that is really, really important, and that is China's infiltration of our centers of higher learning. This happened back with Germany before World War II, and it was really bad. They infiltrated everything. China is doing this, and they're infiltrating by paying all of these professors and everything else to not only spread propaganda here in some cases, but more importantly, take really important information back to China. And Cabot is here to talk to us about it. Hi, Cabot. How are you?
I'm doing well, Glenn. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. I was really glad to see that you guys were on this. This is something that I've been talking to my producers about for about 2 months now. And we're about to do a big expose on it as well. I had no idea that it was as rampant as it is. Can you give the average person a look at it?
Yeah, so it's a two-pronged approach that the Chinese government is taking. They have openly said through their Ministry of Propaganda, which is a thing in China, they've openly said that they view American college campuses as soft targets for their efforts to infiltrate, the American culture, to steal our research, and to spread propaganda. So the two-pronged approach they have is first aimed at spreading propaganda. So they have these things called Confucius Institutes, which sound very learned, very smart, and they're spreading culture. So the Communist Party of China will go to American college campuses. There are 86 of them operating right now in America. And they say, we're going to build this beautiful $20 million state-of-the-art building. We're going to teach Chinese culture, spread Chinese music. We're going to help, you craft your, academic courses to make sure they're accurate to Chinese history. And really what they're doing is they're spreading propaganda. They're trying to influence the things that are being taught about China on campus. They're trying to recruit people to help them gather research for the Chinese Communist Party. And they're trying to make sure that they're regulating anything that has to do with China on campus. They're regulating it. So the Department of Defense and the Pentagon have both come out and said openly these are centers of propaganda operated by the Chinese Communist Party. They've started denying funding to any school that gets federal grants and has one of these Confucius Institutes on their campus. But universities are ignorant. They're saying, well, there's nothing wrong with them. The Chinese, they say that they're fine. They're just about culture. We'll let them continue operating. And so that's one element of it, is the propaganda. And the other element of it is their theft of research and intellectual property. At our website at campusreform.org, we've documented this for the past few years, the growing regular occurrences of American professors that are being caught not disclosing the hundreds of thousands of dollars they're being paid by the Chinese Communist government to smuggle research back to the Chinese government. And they're also there have been multiple cases of exchange students that have been caught trying to smuggle research back. There have been cases where the Chinese government is donating tens of millions of dollars to universities. The universities are then intentionally not reporting that to the American government, which is illegal. So there has been an entire flurry of activity lately of professors being caught underreporting or simply lying about the amount of research they've done for the Chinese government. And thankfully, people are waking up. Congress announced last week they're launching an investigation into infiltration efforts by the Chinese. I'm left saying, what is left to investigate? We have the evidence. People are being indicted. We know what's going on. Why are we only investigating? It's time to shut these Confucius Institutes down and to keep a closer eye on what our professors are doing, because the Chinese are very open about what they're trying to do.
So I'm the second arm, if you will, of their two-pronged approach is the 1,000 Talents program. And this is where they lure these professors in with all kinds of promises. And I know this is happening not just in the university systems. This is also happening in Silicon Valley and Seattle and some of the places that are, renowned with high tech. And the Chinese are offering millions of dollars, way beyond anything that you would get in the open market, to get some of the greatest minds to help them with things like AI, et cetera, et cetera. And some of these people are, let me just leave it at this, tempted to do it without telling the government. And we have no idea what's really happening. Is there any doubt in your mind that this is at the scale of hostile, almost a precursor to war kind of stuff. The amount that they're stealing from us.
Yeah, well, it's a borderline Cold War going on right now with what they're doing. And for people where it sounds vague, where they say, okay, well, what exactly do you mean when they're stealing research or they're spreading propaganda? We have a few examples here. Just from this week alone, there were 2 more professors that were indicted on charges of working with China. There was a professor at Emory who was arrested. They were hiding $500,000 in payments that they've gotten from the Chinese government. Another professor in Arkansas was arrested. They were applying for a NASA grant, and they tried to hide the fact that they've been getting routine 6-figure payments from the Chinese Communist Party. I'm sure it was just an accident that they forgot to report that the government of China was paying them. The chair of the Harvard Chemistry Department, this is not some podunk professor, the chair of the Harvard Chemistry Department was indicted for lying about the fact that he'd been receiving up to $50,000 a month in payments from the Chinese government. And in exchange for those payments, he helped spread research to the Chinese government, and he helped open up a medical lab in a little Chinese town called Wuhan. He helped open up a medical lab there in Wuhan, which is the one that is now famous. So he was arrested for that. Another Harvard medical student arrested for trying to smuggle 21 vials of cancer research out of the country. A UCLA student indicted for trying to smuggle U.S. military missile secrets to the Chinese. At University of Kansas, a professor there indicted for using American federal grant research money to conduct research and then hand it straight over to the Chinese government. So that's kind of what it looks like, where they are essentially paying for access to our research. And we all know that if there's ever been a time where the Chinese want to try and leapfrog us on the global stage, it's right now. They want to be able to prove to the world that they have the most medical capabilities, that they're going to be the ones that come up with the cure for coronavirus. They're going to be the ones that are leading the way in the world on the global stage. So they are doing everything in their power to utilize American research, American intellectual property, to steal it and essentially buy off professors. And that's why I think we need to make sure that we're making sure that any sort of disclosure laws are being upheld, and that any American professor that's conducting research at an American campus is not turning around and handing that research over to our adversaries.
And what's interesting is the names of these universities that are closing their Confucius Centers or institutes: San Francisco State University, Texas A&M, University of Oregon, Western Kentucky University, University of Hawaii, University of North Florida, and University of West Florida, Indiana University, University of Michigan, the University of South Florida. Those are the ones that have closed their Confucius Centers down. But this is going to hurt them economically. And quite honestly, I'm not sure that because of social justice, all of the people on campus that are running these universities agree that they should be shutting these down.
Well, that's the thing, is that the Chinese government knows that one way to get people to turn a blind eye is by playing the political correctness card. They've kind of taken they've taken a play out of the social justice warrior handbook, and they say, look, all we have to do to get people to not pay attention to what we're doing is just accuse them of racism if they question what's going on. And so I think that one reason that we've seen schools be so hesitant to call out Chinese infiltration efforts on campus is because of political correctness. Let's be honest, they know that they are going to be called intolerant and bigoted and xenophobic if they try to say, hey, maybe we should pump the brakes on allowing all these Chinese, funded things on our campus, and maybe we should make sure that propaganda is not being spread to our students from these Chinese centers and from that professors aren't doing this. So that fear of violating the codes of political correctness has led them to not call these things out. We've already seen it on the global stage, where China has come out and said it's racist to call it the Chinese virus, or it's racist to call it the Wuhan virus. Whatever your opinions on that, it's clear that their efforts are to try to get people to stop talking about their involvement with the Wuhan virus. They're trying to use political correctness as a way to make that happen quicker. They're trying to play on our fears of being labeled all those things. And on a college campus, where it's more uptight than any other place in America with regards to political correctness, they know that that's a way to get people to stay quiet. And so I do think that plays a role in it. But again, for all the talk of foreign interference in the 2016 elections and the danger of foreign interference in 2020, those same people don't really seem too concerned about legitimate foreign interference in our education system that's going to impact the next generation.